It's smaller than a Virgin Heron, and it's pretty. It just has a lot of pretty colors going around. Oh, I'm sure it's steps. Well, they're in Bill City. I don't know. Like, thank you.
I don't think we got applause last time to start, so this is already like off to a great start. So first of all, welcome Bill City Reading Series, a monthly showcase of works in progress by MFA students in the creative writing program here at the University of Minnesota. So happy to have you. We were just like talking beforehand about like what type of banter we're gonna do, but we actually don't. It's something that's gonna be our New Year's resolution, I think, is to think about like how to best prepare our banter. So, but we started off great with all that applause. So that's we're already off to a good start. So yeah, I think is it time to introduce our first reader? All right, let's step aside.
Hello, I'm Eva. I'm the co-host.
Oh yeah, hi.
But yeah, welcome again. Everyone's settling in. We're all here in space together to listen to some amazing readings. Our first poet and one of the four lovely poets-ish that we have tonight is Brian. So Brian Thomas Daly is a Pushcart nominated poet and artist whose writing appeared in Poetry Northwest, Southeast Review, thereby connecting impressively large diagonals across the United States. His annual list of things he thinks are tacky includes when babies copy someone else, and his list of things he thinks are chic includes when dog walkers are walking a bunch of dogs, and using a straw to keep things dry. So far this year, he has been paid $15 for writing poems, so that's an amazing salary. I will also like to add that Brian is lovely to have in class. He's so incredibly smart and knows so much about poetry, and I'm learning a lot from him, and I love arguing with him about our poems. So welcome, Brian.
My friends are here with their 3-week-old baby, and this is tacky when babies grow. Can you all hear me? I'll try to speak up. I'm Brian. I'm going to read poems all from a chapbook I wrote this spring called Sweet Brian, where the premise is that every poem uses my name in either the title or in the poem, which is a rule I break a lot. There's a mix of poems in this. I'm only going to read prose poems from this tonight, which I've never done for a crowd, so I'm going to read it with pizzazz. So if you're wondering what I'm doing, it's pizzazz. I should start a timer, but it's good that I got a little extra time there, huh? Why write poems with my name in them? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and I'm going to give you a poet's answer this time. When I was young, I did a lot of mushrooms one time with my friends in the forest, and I got scared. And so I thought that I would run away. And so I pretended that I had forgotten something, and I went to go get it in the woods to leave. And on the way back, I stopped at this tree that we had walked by earlier, and I wrapped my arms around this tree to evaluate whether this was an intelligent choice or not. And I started to speak to myself, and I said, "You're okay, Brian. You're going to be okay, Brian." And it wasn't that I was speaking to myself or that the tree was speaking to me. It was that my voice was going through the tree, getting something added to it, and then coming back to me again, with something else in it that wasn't there before. So these poems, these Brian poems, are my attempt to try to cast my voice through something and then have it come back with something else in it afterward. This one is called Lonesome Cowboy Brian. I think my father would have liked to have been a dog, and I think he would have been good at it. My father, who has always been a good man at times, or in some ways that matters, was ironically not great, I think, at loyalty. He tried to confess something to me on the way into surgery once, but a sedative took him out before he could, and I'm mostly glad. A good cowboy always feeds his horses first, my father would say, feeding our dog before he made his dinner. Because my father was a good cowboy, he always fed his horses first. About my father, at his funeral, you could say he always fed his horses first. Like all men who are impossible to make happy, he needed people to try. My mother drove all the way to Salem to buy him a yellow lab for hundreds of dollars we so much didn't have, but Scout had a seizure in the hallway before he turned 1, and my father took him up to the road, to the vet, with 2 stone horses on either side of the door, and the vet took Scout back down to 0. If my father were a dog, I think I would put bells on him, to hear his going more easily, to have it sound more silver. It occurs to me that I've memorized my lineated poems but not these, so I can't look up as much as I normally would. This one is called Brian with an 8 for a B and a 4 for the A, but that's a stupid title, so it's actually called Odds Are. People with SpongeBob tattoos have already died. People with Care Bear tattoos, Donald Trump tattoos, lots of people back in Massachusetts with shamrocks on their hands or necks. It's a numbers game. You know the one about how every shoreline is really infinite? You know the one about the brother who always tells the truth and the other brother who always lies? My grandfather lost his finger pulling bittersweet from the mower. Today, someone dies in a movie theater, an amusement park, a Walmart, at a baby shower, at a Home Depot, and at a Lowe's. Mr. Crescitelli told his 5th grade class that the lottery was a tax on people who didn't know math, but then he got cancer twice, but lived both times. Numbers game. My father got the quick pick for the mega millions on his way to work with his paper. If I ever lost a finger, I would get knuckle tattoos that said hard won. This poem talks about spotting or spotlighting of deer, which is a practice during the off-season of a hunting season where you can shine a light into the woods and freeze a deer as if you were hunting it. You can also do it during the on-season in order to freeze a deer and kill it more easily. And this is in the poem, but it's just a fact I like so much that I wanted to bring it up. In New York State, where this poem takes place, the hunting season closes for just 9 days around Christmas for reasons I couldn't discover. Dear Brian, once in the off-season after dark, me and some country boys left a Christmas party from my first apartment, the one where I mixed eggnog with vodka and Robitussin for a drink I called a Norman Rockwell to go spotting in the hills. One boy drove his truck while the rest of us shivered in the bed. One aimed a powerful mounted spotlight into the Allegheny Hills and hoped that we could stop the wandering of a buck. A lot of people don't understand how the hills at night go on forever. Some who do discover it freezing in plain shirts on one of the 9 days in December that for some reason the hunting season closes like a thurible around the longest, darkest nights of the year. With only light to work with, boys will holler, knowing how they would kill if they could. I just need to sit with water. A theme of these poems became looking for magic, but I don't believe in magic, I think, so it's about that process. This one is about, magic, the Magnificent Brian. In college, I was listening to a long voicemail from my father, and I forgot it wasn't really him. Started saying, "Oh yeah, sure," at all his pauses. I take a photo of my cat Billy napping in a circle, but I forget to clean the junk I usually do from his one eye, and so when the picture appears on my phone, I rub at the screen. Julia tells me that the Amazon mailers I've been putting in the recycling for a year go in the trash. I blow on a lamp like it's a candle. I try to turn off the faucet with the lights. The The sky is an heirloom blanket, I think, instead of noticing how it's gotten dark. A magician asks, "Is this your card?" Sure, I mean, it could be. It has been before. I'm reading so quickly that I will go back and read this all my students. This one is called Sweet Brian. 20 and very high. Staring in a mirror, I could see in my face for the first time absolutely no trace of a child. My parents have lost their boy, I thought. Once, as a gift to my grandmother, they dressed me up in a sailor's costume to have my photo taken at Penny's. Getting the photos weeks later in the mail, how they must have marveled at the sweet, wide face, a smile brighter than a child's idea of God. The sailor's hat is missing in the photo because, as the story goes, it blew off in the wind over the bridge on the walk to the studio. It was the kind of loss that made everyone laugh. It was the laughter of people so racked with joy that it felt good to give some up. It was thinking of this laughter that made me go into my room and drag a fish knife across my thigh until it looked like grass. That one broke the spell, people laughing at the last line. Okay, just two more. Three more, but one's short. This one's called Cut Poem. It's just a setup that later will. There was a poem here and now there isn't. If you're wondering later what happened to Vinny, he became a New York City narcotics detective and divorced 4 times. Once, he handed me a photo of brown goop on a hardwood floor and said, "That's what happens to a body no one finds." This one is called Droost Brian, or probably Droosted Brian from the Dutch, but I don't think people say that. It's a brand of Dutch cocoa with a picture of the cocoa on the tin. So the Droost effect is this thing where sometimes the picture of something is on the thing that it's on. The first time we took our dog camping was the first time I'd seen him swim. Because I was always looking for a reason to be noble, because I hadn't considered who was the stronger swimmer, I ran into the water with all my clothes on. He clawed at my face as I tried to drag him in. On shore, my terrified parents told me story after story about people they know who had died trying to save a dog like that, about how the dog always survived. That became the only story I heard that year. Man tries to save a dog, man dies, dog doesn't. It got played on the radio, it was buried in the Pledge of Allegiance, it was filling the washing machine beside my dirty shirts. I heard it when the butcher offered me a slice of cold, free American cheese. I realized that the girl on the borax box was holding a borax box, and there was the same story, man, dog, man, dog. I'd want to tell people how my favorite color was orange, or about how I was about to turn 10, but I'd end up with these other words in my mouth. In some versions, the lake was frozen. In others, it was burning. Near the end, there was no dog, only someone gone all the way after what wasn't there. Okay, one last poem quickly. This one is called Vinny. I'll tell you one more thing. My father was 5, scarlet fever. That meant he got to sleep in his parents' room because it was the only other room besides the kitchen and the bathroom and the other one where all the children slept, and scarlet fever is contagious. Scarlet fever will kill you. That's what it was doing, killing him. His tongue was white, his chest was red, his body was stopping, the shades were drawn. The Holy Father came with words for his journey home. Upstairs, his parents had taken his bed. It was a single bed in a room with 12 single beds. Maybe they had made Vinny sleep on the floor so that they could each have a bed. Maybe that brought Vinny into the room where my father was about to die. Vinny was the oldest, but he still had to share a bike with my father. I get the bike, sang Vinny to my father like it was the world's favorite song. In the yard, outside, drying sheets of laundry auditioned as the dead.
Okay, thank you. Alright, thank you so much, Brian. So I will introduce our next reader, Okudili Nebulisa. So Okudili is the author of Terminal Maladies out from Autumn House Press in 2024, winner of the Center for African American Poetry and Poetics Prize, and a finalist for the 2025 Hurton Wright Legacy Award and the 2025 Lambda Literary Award for Best Gay Poetry. He studied poetry at the Iowa Writers Workshop, where he won the Prairie Lights Prize for Fiction. He is currently studying fiction at the University of Minnesota, where he won the Gessel Award for Excellence in Poetry. Cross genre. His fiction has appeared in Evergreen Review and is forthcoming in the Georgia Review. His poems have appeared in Cincinnati Review, Image, New England Review, Poetry Magazine, Shenandoah, Sewanee Review, Southern Review, and Three Millennia Review. His nonfiction has appeared in Catapult, Commonwealth Writers, and his criticism is forthcoming in the Georgia Review. He's a recipient of grants and residencies from the Elizabeth George Foundation, the Branham Foundation, and the Center for the Arts Crested Youth. And first introduced to Okudili from the First Books, is that the event? Yeah, that we had in the spring. And encourage you to check out Terminal Maladies, really moving collection about illness, cancer, grief. I was moved to tears while reading it or hearing about it. So, but really excited to hear more of your work. Maybe some of your fiction, who knows? But let's welcome up Okudili.
Hi. I'll be reading from a short story. It's titled Final Care. When I started, sorry, let me start again. When I started the job at Final Care, I did not think I would be losing. Can you hear me? How about now? When I started the job at Final Care, I did not think it would be rosy. I knew what I would be getting into, that I would be mostly dealing with aging people in the final months of their lives. Even when the manager, Mrs. Marilyn Lewis, a middle-aged woman with grey in the roots of her shoulder-length hair, overexcitedly said to me, "You will enjoy this job once you get used to it." I had already begun to wonder if I would ever get used to it, if I would even enjoy it once I started getting used to it, and how long would it take me to get used to it. I was a biochemistry undergrad at the University of Iowa, hoping it would serve as a pre-med course. It was my first month living in the US with a diversity visa. It was the early 2000s in the heyday of visa lotteries. Before she woke up her desktop computer to show me my work schedule, Mrs. Willis said, "Mind you, the people you will be taking care of are from a different generation. Some even experienced the First World War. Things were different back then." I nodded. She smiled, then continued, "So be really lenient with how they might address you." I nodded, standing beside her and looking at the blue light filling her computer screen, from which a tiny Windows logo appeared in the center. Mrs. Willis had finished showing me my part-time work schedule when she walked me through the rooms, introducing the patients to me. repeatedly mispronouncing my name, Nkechi, as Nkechi, the way an American would mispronounce Iraq as Iraq. If I don't introduce you ahead of time, some of them might be confused when you come by to help, she said, perhaps sensing some ambiguity on my face. I gasped, pretending to be surprised, especially because of your color and your accent, she said. I tried to keep my face neutral by looking away at the walls of the corridor so that she wouldn't catch that I felt slighted by the remark. Nkechi, Mrs. Willis said to each patient, has just arrived from Nigeria and will be joining us. They mostly stared at me with a look of suspicion. One of them, after the introduction, kindly asked if my name meant some kind of black tea that could possibly have been served in Nigeria. Because of the chai, he added, revealing his yellow teeth. Oh no, I said, laughing. So what does the name mean? I hear that you people give names according to circumstances. He burst into a fit of laughter, clutching his bedsheet and squeezing it. Oh, it's a shortened form for Nkechi, I said. But what does it mean? What God has given, I said. What I did not say was that my name was typically given to girl children whose preceding siblings had also been girls, a euphemism in the heavily patriarchal world I had come from, for saying that a girl child was also a gift from God. My name is Peter, he said, just as Mrs. Willis and I were walking out. Hi, Peter, I said. Hi, Nkechi, he said. I began work the next day, dressed in a uniform, a long blue gown. Per Mrs. Willis's instructions, I always made sure I knocked twice before I opened the door to the patient's rooms. The first person I attended to was a woman who could not recognize me from the previous day because she suffered from Alzheimer's. When I opened the blinds, she winced and asked who I was. Nkechi, I said, your aide. Good morning. How are you feeling now? Do I look like I'm feeling good? She said. Oh, sorry for asking, I said, turning to her. A gentle look of indifference replaced the one of discomfort on her wrinkly face, as if she had briefly remembered who I was. Well, I'll be fine. You better get on without me. Oh no, don't you need to go to the toilet? I said, untucking her blanket. Her eyebrows curled in thought. You must be pressed. Let me help you, I said, taking her hand in my right. 1, 2, go. Oh, please. I can rise by myself, she said, frowning, slapping off my hand. I laughed, refusing to acknowledge her independent airs. When she climbed out of the bed, I knew her diaper had been soiled. Would you like some previously? I asked, when she had sat on the toilet seat. Of course. I laughed, but this time she joined me, her raspy laughter escorting me out of the bathroom. If you need me, I said, I will be in the room. I know. When she went about her business in the toilet, I changed the sheets because, despite the diapers, there was an orange stain big as a white marble in the center of her bed sheet. The air conditioner hummed and hummed. Are you there? She called. Yes, ma'am. Come here. When I opened the door, I saw she had been struggling to wipe her backside. She looked away as if she were ashamed. Bend, I said, cutting a long sheet of toilet paper and then wiping behind her again and again until the toilet paper came clean after wiping. What's your name again? She asked. Nkechi, I said. She nodded. I wondered why she had asked me if she wouldn't pronounce it. Shower time, ma'am, I said. She looked at me suspiciously, and I waited for the look to wane from her face before I took off her sleeping gown, raised her hand, and pulling it from under till it was out of her body. Her pale white body was marked with freckles all over. I tried not to look at it for too long, then led her to the shower area of the bathroom. She was not the most difficult of the patients I had to attend to that day. Most of the men told me they liked me scrubbing their backs. One of them, Ryan, an overweight man in his 80s, personally asked me to scrub between his butt cheeks and laughed while I did it, saying that I was so gentle with the task that it tickled him. A round scar on his chest indicated where his pacemaker was working. I'll have to bend to scrub, he shamelessly said. Well, if I did it myself, my back's gonna be aching all day, and it will hurt my chest too. The suds of lather turned a light brown as I scrubbed. A faint, putrid smell rose above the citrusy scent of the soap. I rinsed and scrubbed again until the lather remained white. I did not know whether to laugh or not, but when I handed the sponge back to him, he said that I was not done. My hands can't reach here, he said, pointing under the sack of his scrotum, and I obliged him. It was hard to tell if he enjoyed the young woman attending to him, but I felt privileged to be of any amusement to these people. If I wasn't so sick, he said, I would have married you. Well, I did.
We will keep this fiction train rolling. Next up is going to be Rebecca Kilroy. Another Western Mass connection, which I'm always happy about, Brian being the other, myself third, which is why I mentioned that. But Rebecca is a speculative and historical fiction writer from New Jersey. Her work has appeared in Pioneer Town, The Forge, Cult Magazine, Tramset, and others. She was a 2024 finalist for the Iowa Review Awards, the Pinch Literary Awards, and the Despair Prize. She writes about bogs, Ireland, the undead, and feral girlhood. And I feel like we've been like two ships passing the night, and so I'm very much looking forward to hearing more of your fiction, and also being in a workshop with you next year. But yeah, let's give a round of applause for her.
Sound? Solid. Alright, I'm going to be reading tonight from part of a novel that I've been working on this semester in my independent study with Giddings, and it is surprising for any of you who have read my previous fiction. It's not set in Ireland. A lot of it is set in 1870s New York, which does mean that more than 80% of the characters are Irish. So if you hear a little Irish dialect in the way the dialogue is written at the end, that's historical detail. It's not a mistake. It's definitely not because I've had to relearn how to write my own accent, and I still don't like it. Alright. It's called Night Magic. New York in 1878 was rank with magic. It ran in the gutters and hung in clouds above the rooftops, sticky sweet cat house glamours, bargaining charms, the soot reek of never-light fires, and below that, something hot and acrid that had been blowing in off the river for days. Jamie tried to ignore the last one. His sister, Rose, said he had a nose for trouble and was always following it. The last part he'd agree with. The first was nearly true. It was magic he could smell, not trouble, but in the places he ventured, those were usually one and the same. That night, his gift was put to good use by a bookie who wanted him to run slips of a boxing match in the back room of Tombs. Jamie sniffed out the chancers and the counterfeiters, the ones trying to magic their way to better luck or pass off a penny as a silver dollar. Jamie's gift wasn't unusual, but it wasn't usual either. Rose had read that as many as 8 in every 100 people could sense magic. Of these 8, most saw lights and colors or heard music. Some lady in Albany got choirs of angels singing in her ears every time someone charmed a cook pot, but Jamie got the New York shit smell to fill up on itself. He slipped through the tomb's plodding cloud over sawdust, spilled beer, and hot spit, sifting through a fog of smells so thick he could swallow them. The bar was named with the touch of a smirk for the jail on White Street. Everyone in the Lower East Side knew its hulking mass by sight. Half the crowd had probably found themselves inside at one point. Now they rocked on their heels around the roped-off ring, primed for a fight. Vets or not, they wouldn't be content until they'd seen their fair spill of blood. 5 on Lackner, a man said, pushing the bill into Jamie's hand. It smelled faintly of whatever spells the mint used to make money, but otherwise it was clean. It's 20 to 1, Jamie warned him. The man smirked. I'll take my odds, boy. Jamie bristled, being called a boy. He was 16, capable of men's work and men's magic, even if his height hadn't caught up to him yet. He handed the man a betting slip and stuffed the money in his pocket. The fighters stepped into the ring, and the crowd keeled towards them. Jamie spotted the favorite immediately. Mackenzie was short, and squat and muscled. When Jamie glimpsed the back of his neck, the width of a lamppost, he thought the men betting on Lackner had better change their minds. Mackenzie's opponent was small and trim, barely taller than Jamie, and old enough to be full-grown. His legs were as scrawny as 2 tally marks chalked up against him. All his broadness gathered in his torso. His chest was a smooth bridge of muscle, and his arms rolled with it. But by far the man's most striking feature was tattoos. The crowd pressed closer to take a look. The ink crawled down Lackner's arms and spidered across his fingers. Jamie had seen plenty of men walk around with tattoos: snakes, flowers, eagles, the outlines of women. But these lines, thin and hard to make out, didn't form a picture of anything. They looked like scratches, dripping black blood. For a moment, the acrid smell from the river bloomed in the room. As soon as it was there, it vanished. The men stared at each other and about to go off. Jamie had heard that in gentlemen's sporting clubs, fighters were starting to dab each other with padded gloves. Here, it was still knuckle to skin as it would be on the street, and the fight lasted as long as both parties were still conscious. It would take hours to end. The tight room heaved with the crowd's blood hunger. Someone shoved past Jamie, knocking his shoulder. Hey, Jimmy called. The boy was around Jamie's age, tall, with shaggy hair. He half turned over his shoulder in apology. Jamie caught a flash of something familiar. Marsh? The boy kept moving deeper into the crowd. Jamie fought his way forward, elbows jabbing. He hadn't seen his friend in over a month. Marsh had stopped turning up at the boarding house where they both slept, and no one had heard a whisper from him about where he was going. Hey, Marsh! An elbow jabbed Jamie back, and he stumbled. When he picked himself up, Marsh was gone again. Jamie thought he smelled a cold burst of night air as the door swung open and shut. That was it. He stared at the place where Marsh had vanished. It had really been him. Where the fuck had he been? What was he doing in the tombs of all miserable places? Jamie almost wanted to run after him. The shouts of the crowd shook him back to himself. The first round was done. Mackenzie had swept Lackner to the floor with a few swift blows. He had power on his side. Lackner didn't seem bothered, though. He grinned up at his opponent with blood-smeared lips as the next round began. Jamie ducked under elbows and raised fists. His new bets poured in. Lackner was good on his feet, Jamie would give him that. He moved like an alley cat crossed for a dancer, and the hits he'd already taken didn't slur his grace. There was a pattern to how he moved. He liked to dodge Mackenzie's lunges, then getting close, grapple, and 2 or 3 blows before jumping back to safety. Mackenzie was tired this round, and worse, losing his temper. Jamie could see his swings getting sloppy, with the bull-red flush of his face promised the punch that did land would be the one to end the match. The next time Lackner came in close, Mackenzie swung for his head. Lackner flinched, flickered, winked out like a candle flame, and came back. It was over in a flash, too quick to catch a whiff of. Jamie turned to the man next to him. Did you see that? He asked. The man shoved him off. The fighters were already off in their waltz again. Jamie strained forward to watch Lackner. It wasn't just footwork, timing that kept him out of Mackenzie's reach. The smell like a cold morning hung in the air. Lackner was doing magic. It was illegal in the ring, about the only thing you weren't allowed to do. The spectators came to watch sport, not a coward's trick. If Mackenzie caught on, Lackner would forfeit the match, and more than one audience member would want words with him in the alley after. But how was he doing it? Jamie's eyes searched Lackner for a talisman of charm. The man's chest was bare, except for his tattoos, which vanished down the waist, his tight trousers. Whatever he had, he was hiding it well, and this was no ordinary magic. Most people's spells were clumsy and slow, they took visible effort. This was clean and crisp and clear, and seemed to cause Lackner with no more trouble than breathing. He was still grinning at his opponent. Mackenzie roared, a burst of frustration and flagging strength. He shoved Lackner up against the corner of the ropes and bashed his already baby smile. Lackner ought to go down, Jamie thought, before it got bad. Mackenzie punched him low on the ribs, and Lackner bent double, coughing. Jesus, I'll kill him, the man next to Jamie said, and it Lochner's cough in the faint, bent low, he slammed himself with Mackenzie's knees at the same time. A dark shape flew across the ring and lashed itself around Mackenzie's throat. Fuck, do you see that? Jamie shouted. No one in the crowd moved. Lochner stood over his opponent. The bigger man gasped on the ground, he couldn't breathe. Punched him in the throat, the man next to Jamie said appreciatively, fucking cover that. Didn't even see him do it. Jamie could still see the dark thing around Mackenzie's throat. It was more shadow than shape now, but it held tight. It stank of sewers and coal gas. Whatever it was, it didn't belong in this world, much less in the rain.
So much, Rebecca. That was awesome. I'm so excited by Conceptions of Magic. So very excited for that novel when it's published. And I can read it. So our next reader will be Sadia Khatri, who is a writer and translator from Karachi, Pakistan. She is working on a nonfiction project about Awara, loose women loitering in third world cities, and she translates 15th to 16th century mystic poets from the Indian subcontinent, for whom God journeys are a site of political and social upheaval, and she loves cats. And personally, I adore Saudi. She's in my poetry workshop too. I'd love to hear her translations and recently her poems that she finally shared with us too. So welcome, Saudi.
Can you hear me? Yeah? Alright, so I'm going to read some nonfiction first from the project that I'm working on, and then I'm going to read some poems. Not translations, but original poems. Okay, so my nonfiction project is about women's relationship with the streets and God, so sites of disruption in public but also private, and I don't want to talk too much about that, but I'm going to get into the first section, which is called Rooms. So I'm going to read from the section called Rooms, and it's kind of like set up where you're walking into different rooms. So I'm going to read 2 rooms. Okay. 1. The corner room belonged to our 4 teenage aunts. All their names started with S. All day, they stayed within the 4 walls of our home and made the home their city. Often played music while cleaning. Cloth at the end of her stick, I remember S. Pupo banging the dust off the lamps and the furniture to the soundtrack of Macha's film. Shit film, excellent songs. To that same music at night, they taught us how to pray, how to put henna on our little hands. Up and down, and tuck the strands of your hair like this, in. And this is how you angle the carrying piece. And this is how you flatten the dough so the roti spins on the lightest touch. And this is why you mustn't ask for more freedom. They were a unit of 4 left to surveil itself. We were 8 and 9, my sibling and I, and our beloved aunts let us watch R-rated films with them at night. During the day we tailed them everywhere, watched them clean and talk and change the cassette tapes. Happily, we made their city our city. There was 1 computer and several lovers, and we could be trusted to watch the door. Dial-up, phone cords hurriedly returned. One of the aunts liked girls. Tears on the prayer mat under the scarf. Cloth at the end of a stick, now limply moving to heartbreak classics. Our city was their city, and in this city, they cried and cleaned, and they told us stories about the family, stories about the dangerous world outside. Your family does not punish you, said S. Auntie. It wants what is best for you, the best, said the other S, and the other one, banging the cloth stick to the brand new speaker set. My 4 aunts were our sanctuary and our sirens, ready to warn us of the world outside that they knew so little about. Do not think you can be like your friends. Do not think you can be so free. This home is your city and it is enough. Look at us. And there was so much love in their eyes that we believed it. 2. Any room with teacups. Any room with a pot of chai brewing on the stove non-stop. Someone sticks their head out. Egg or cup? One more. An excuse to linger. Eyes light up and friendship. And stay now. We have more to discuss. Let's just get more milk. Tell B to bring it on her way. Another round of chai. And this is how to make it perfectly. Half milk, half water. Let it simmer before you drop the tea leaves in. Then watch the brown seep across the white foam. Watch the white become all brown. It should rise, boil over, once, twice, and breathe. Now done. Cover it with a lid for a minute, and you should have added the sugar before and asked everyone how much they want. If you love someone, you know by heart and hand, how much sugar they take in their chai. Then you bring it out to them, and the room fills with milky sweetness. Right. I'm gonna jump ahead now, and this is from a section of the same project called Footsteps. We walked when there was nothing else to do. We walked when there was everything to do. We walked, and our hearts opened. We walked, and my legs opened, for the city to enter and become a thing inside me. From that moment, I kept longing for the city inside me. It became the only thing I walked towards. A creature, this city, inside me, and the feeling of crossing over, because there is a before and an after. Before Karachi, there was and always will be Kathmandu. You have to leave the cage to know it has been a cage. You have to leave the cage to know that it can be broken apart. Yes, we can climb out, all of us, and the cities will help us. In Kathmandu, I walked, and it has been impossible to sum up those 3 months in a few sentences. And it is also impossible to reach her, that 23-year-old girl, scared and wet in the rain, and suddenly free in the rain, not scared, still wet, caught by the city, which then decided to enter her. It is hard to reach you, little girl, since you've crossed over. Okay, I'm gonna switch it up now. So I'm gonna read a poem about Karachi, and this is what I read earlier about my aunt's was like 90s Karachi, and this is like my youth ongoing Karachi. Okay, it's called Gully Girls, and gully means lane or street. Gully Girls. Listen, Karachi, you and I need to sit down and talk. What business? What chuck? I would not have been born here, nor God decreed A, reason, B, season, 3, rain cloud, the size of this pulsing Madhurjot city, impossible cursed city, rain city, mapless insane city, not a drain nowhere in the city, so the water goes everywhere. Another cup of chai, oh city. Did it dawn? Yes, it did. It dawned upon me, too late, that two cutting chais keep the thought warm. Almost. Hold it. Walls fall. Almost. Watch it. Nobody has this city's real name, so you can actually name it right here, by the dhaba, by the tapri, by the sea. Where else have you been? Your lover has not asked about you though. It's just a lover in your head. Stop giving me lovers in my head, Karachi, whose city was roses first and dust after. I swept my troubles away like this by a sea that begs me. Nah man, it really truly ain't, isn't, and can't be that way. Alright, I'm gonna read 2 more poems, and these are, so I translate, one of the poets I translated is the 16th century mystic Mirabai, who fascinates me for many reasons, but one of the reasons, you know, a lot of the male mystics tend to be like public facing, you know, they stand in the middle of the street and they like leader positions, prophet positions. But for a bunch of these women mystics, while they might take on the public, they're often reconstituting the private within the public. And so Mirabai is one of those poets I'm looking at, and she kind of walks out of a domestic situation and walks into the forest and dances and lives there. I mean, that's like the kind of reduced mythology of it. But as I was translating her, I also started writing some poems that were in conversation with that poetry, and so I'm going to read two of those. And the first one is called Mira as Loiterer, and it's like a choose your adventure poem like that with options, so just imagine. Okay. Mira as Loiterer. Mira stands before 1. Poison. 2. Krishna. 3. Forest. Mira 1. Drinks. 2. Walks. 3. Enters. Mira 1. Dies. 2. Laughs. 3. Dances. The second one is called Loitering Through Mira's Corners. Mira walks, I walk into all kinds of trouble, into the forest, dunes, city. In Mira's, my city, the men do not know, always know what to do. What to do, Mira, what to do? Roads diverge, standing before me. Mira is poison, Krishna, the city.
Thank you so much, Sadi. That was awesome. Also, we got to read those poems in workshop on Thursday, and so I got to like imagine it while she was reading it. And that was a magical experience. Lovely. Our last and final and wonderful poet for this evening is Sandra Del Rio Madrigal, and we adore Sandra. She is the daughter of a Mexican immigrants, and she is a Chicana poet originally from Salt Lake City. She's a current MFA candidate for poetry at the University of Minnesota. Her fiction and poetry dwell on subjects like Latinidad, migration, border politics, and cannibalism. You can find her work in various journals and anthologies if you look hard enough. So I encourage you all to look hard enough. Her poetry is incredible. Everybody welcome Sandra. Hi. Words are, I mean, sound is good. Okay, cool. Hi, nice to see everyone. So I'm going to be reading from my current MFA thesis project right now, which is about a speaker who eats my mom and then is trying to reconstitute her mother after ingesting and living through the mother's memories and dreams. And yeah, so most of these poems are actually written recently. Some of them are not part of the project, and other ones I wrote and have read here actually at Major State Med. I'll go ahead and just start. So this one is My Body Is Nothing, It Was Reclamation. I dedicated years to erection. I made monuments of Mexico. I flattened steep dunes into playgrounds, ate dandelions, sprawled in clusters over the hillsides. I paved the roads with my tongue, spit seeds for trees on a corner, didn't think much of what kinds of trees to raise, gathered mounds of dirt and left them wherever I grew tired. I built my mother's house from my bones, failed to set out massive clay pots sporting juicy green succulents. When I learned about the ocean, I laid it down upon the edges in ruffles. I added a pyramid mall. Somewhere inside me, a theater and papeleria. I got the gas stations all wrong. I translated my mother into my imagination, burdened myself with foraging ghosts from the place I make. I built countless churches, short and stammered, white and beige. I failed the stained glass windows, La Virgen missing from my every surface. I lived there dressed in my mother's middle school uniform. I fashioned a white polo, a dark blue skirt made from my skin, and I forged Tijuana from my cavities because I miss what I've never had, and so faith becomes a malleable thing from which a mallet could be formed. This next one is called La Hora del Mal, which its most recent version is now 2 different poems, but I want to read this one in its combined form. The first time I read this poem was actually 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, I guess.
here at Majors and Quinn, and it was about, I was thinking a lot about Mexico, I was thinking a lot about conquest, but I was also thinking about romantic intimacy. But this new version of it is about my mom again. It's more about like maternal intimacy. And so yeah, it's funny, my first time reading at Majors and Quinn, and perhaps my last, or if not one of my last ones, reading this one. So, La hora del mal. Nosotras nos comemos a nosotras mas se localiza, se pierde lo matrilineal como si no mimo de querer. La frontera se va, se va, se va. La tierra nos devora como nosotras comemos. The guilt comes from the home, from the stomach, from the foot. I come to my mother as a collection of questions, knees bent. She is altered. In the end, I speak of Jehovah as mine, holy the unknown, holy a religion not my own. My father offered a God I did not want. I said no to this unmaking of a man. When I think myself a haunted body, I ask the border for a holy land. A cross in reverse fits inside my fist. The ancestors, a gaping hole in my life. I am unanswerable. My mother is a deviance. Through her hips, the sway of the world caught between legs, and as a daughter too, she followed her tongue, her teeth, her palate, her lips, her throat until she opened. Between my mother and her mother and her mother, lo mal. Do the dead remember when they were human? Do they remember how delicate one felt to exist, to breathe? Do they remember the heart, its sputters, its charitable pliability? I'm speaking of place and body, about time and space. And if I chase after myself within me, and if I find little but a country of women holding fistfuls of nights shooting over me, over me, over me, in the end, I speak of land as though it is mine, of culture, of language, of blood, of bodies, when all I have to claim is silence. And what if I can't speak myself into deliverance? What if I move my mouth without making a sound? In the beginning, I was given everything, only to swallow it whole in one gulp. In the end, my mother was right to leave. In the end, I am so housed in original sin, her bottom lip the ledge I'm always on. There, in closeness, we should be very near to the beginning, to the creation of all manner of unruliness. And what would a God say if it had something to say to me? Would it speak through light? Would it speak through prayer? My mother sees me through my prayers. I am asking for truth when I open my mouth, and what would she say if she could do the same? Open-mouthed, I do not let myself find out. In the beginning, I am open-mouthed, and in the end, I am open-mouthed, and this curse is where I eat. If I should eat you, where would I begin my entrance? First, I ask with the nubs of my fingers. I don't quite palm you just yet, but when I do not hold you under me. Madre de carne y hueso, you made of me a mouth, one long blossomed number of implantable things. ¿Rimas con el encuentro de tu voz? Madre de sangre, mucha corporación, me devoto a tus palmas, cuánto rasga mi carita. Es toda tuya esta boca, your scream opens me, I begin at your womb. Madre de carne y hueso. You realize you did this to us. I pull my teeth and your shoulder follows like a soft knot. It's like tearing a whole animal apart. I must know your flesh. I am soaked in you. I beat against your heart my resting place. And of the first bite, muscle from the bone, of the second, veins on their stretch. Red marble on the inside, my first and last home, I once fit within your bones, but now you and I take turns to swell and rip. How we've grown, we feed each other. Do you feel the rot fester in me? Yet you let my lips hold your skin. Tu lunar me quiere decir que me acerque. Mis encías se acuerdan de tu cuerpo. I'm so gutted without you. You taste like soil, and your fat fills me tender. I seek these arms like my own, these thighs I saw through for hours. You look like everyone I've ever loved and hated, and of the snaps from your fingers, my tongue creates a feast of your wrist, of your waist, and your breasts. I chew grooves into the seams. I gorge on my knees. I taste prayer in you, and you are so much expanse. like the evening sky. Lower your head towards me and offer I kiss your eyes closed. Boca llena de mami, I dream a holiness beyond your proportions and eat my body out of loss. Mother, face me. My mouth, Jadid, opens with her face, her skin, her hair. When I asked for ancestry, she full throttled el más allá into me. Jaw split, tooth snap being thrust, and it's when I bite, I feel the gush of brain and blood stain me. I can't stop my swallow. Her body rolls backwards. Her hands land on her lap. She's red, a hole, red, a well, red, a meat, red, a cauldron, red, a geyser, red, a mirror, red, a torso. A gaping hole of red when I speak. Oh, I'm sorry, did my mouth scare you? What was I thinking eating the dandelions? Let my lips ease you, they like your skin. They envisage a here for my teeth. They kernel softened corn. And my tongue, you know a wet dog when you feed one. Still nervous? Listen to me speak then. Hear you and I and call it Spanish. We've spoken cannibalism our whole lives. Yes, the Holy Ghosts pervade, they scream. We think our scream's stronger. We fabricate silences. We fabricate death out of the living, out of the land, inform idealizations of indigeneity through grief. Whose history do you imagine when you imagine Mexico in your body? Whose borders do you appraise when you finger your cross? But language, waters, balms. If you speak a Spanish, you savored earth's flavors. The words feed you in Nahuatl, tomat, aguacat, chocolate. Nahuatl claims its lands when we cultivate it for feast as we name it. Zacatecas, Oaxaca, Coahuila, Mexico, we crumble, the land, the language of our bodies. Implode. Excuse me. Implosion. If the border could bleed, it would blend my bones into a sweet bow, an assured zip, a loop around my centuries. I sense I am jangling from the tip of its nose. It bleeds and seeps. It thinks it is standing. It's almost it, but when it zips, it wants what I have. I sigh into the square pores of its body as if it could understand my breath. It has everything I've wanted and everything it's taken from me. A great big I am not real. Mexico is my body so far from the border. Everything is wrong with the border, with everything that lies on either side. Also, Mexico isn't even real if you think about it, because everything there I have forgotten. My mother has shoveled all her stories into my mouth. They knock my teeth into me. I choke on them. I want to eat some food that makes my flesh real flesh, but I am not doing that. I've run out of flesh, so Mexico is not real. I am sitting in my great-grandmother's dining room I am not sitting in my great-grandmother's dining room where my mother learned to eat, so I do not exist. Last one. The border has been made, and whether I believe or whether I feel its metal craters in Ossian, the words paz and liberty were painted over the blue, over the rust, and the border wall renamed itself Mural de la Hermandad, with a portrait of Biden and Trump kissing their lips together, and through the slits beyond the wall, I saw the other wall, and that one, the real one, while standing in Tijuana, did not look blue, wasn't painted on the inside, but that was back in 2023, before the new barriers, and now the ocean waves rise high and fast, and border patrols catch my uncle drunkenly driving families across the desert because he thought the wall just wouldn't take him. Thank you.
Alright, so let's give another big round of applause for all of our readers. So we're tentatively, we'll be back in February, so I don't want to say it, but see you next year. Hope you have safe travels if you're going anywhere, and for people who are in school, good luck with the rest of your semester. I hope it all goes well. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. This was a wonderful, magical space with all of incredible writers. I feel like there was strong passion tonight. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of your year. Happy Thanksgiving, I guess.
Thank you.
Cheers, family. Love you all.
I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a mother to a child. Huh? I'm a mother to a child.
Oh. Oh,